Everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet, coming in from Acapulco, Mexico, where we actually sat in this exact same spot 8 months ago in October with Erica Harris. Talked about lavish listening the last time we were on, and we actually want to get into some health-related stuff. I know I've been talking a lot about health stuff. This channel is not going to turn into the health vigilante or anything like that, but I've been so passionate about it, and it's actually changed my life so much. That's why we've been talking a lot about it, but we're going to get back to talking about other topics as well. And this actual Anarchast isn't just going to be about health, it's going to be about some other things as well, about this actually decriminalizing marijuana, which is really what we're going to talk about, cannabis and marijuana. Talk about the health effects of it, why it's actually been made so it's very hard to get in places like the US. There's an actual reason for it, and it's because it's so healthy. So Erica is so into all this stuff, and so she wanted to come over and talk about this. So good to see you again.
You too, Jeff. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the health benefits of cannabis. And before we get started on that, did you quit smoking recently? Or did you start again?
Yes.
You started again?
Both.
Okay. We're quite a bit into health. A lot of the people here seem to be lately. But let's talk about the benefits of cannabis and marijuana. And a lot of people out there, a lot of anarchists will already know this, and it's not because all anarchists are really into marijuana, which is what a lot of people say. A lot of anarchists are open-minded about these sort of things, whereas your average American drone robot who lives in the Matrix is just told it's really bad, it's evil, and that's all they know about it. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of cannabis.
Yeah, they are so plentiful, and one thing I wanted to say is, like, you know, last time that I was on, and so I got to answer that legendary question of how did you become an anarchist, and my answer then was like, oh, the long hard way. But what I want to say specifically, the hardest part of that way was in unraveling the prohibition of cannabis. That is what served me up to the door of anarchy, and I will tell you why. Because when I unraveled what the prohibition is made of, this is way more than a bong and a high. This is way more than that. When I unraveled what was there, I discovered that there are two ways to do things. One is inferior and one is superior. And I found that the state and many of the leading industries are very, very vested in the inferior ways because they're so profitable. Now, the part that makes the weight too heavy to bear is that the inferiority is forced. It would be different if the superior way was forced. Well, then we would just bitch and moan about it's forced, but at least it's the better way. But you are forcing an inferior reality upon people in terms of health and economics and all that. And so that's the part where I just said, you know, like whatever illusion I might have held about the state being any kind of force of good and order, it was undone completely. So I want to just give examples of that. There's no opinion. I'm not going to even give not one opinion, just straight fact, starting with our very body. Okay, so, and I have a liberal arts background, but this is very basic to be able to understand. You know, our body, so exquisitely made, it's got 11 to 12 systems, and then they're all connected to the various functions that we have. So all of those functions, to excrete, to digest, to circulate, all of those functions rely on communication, and, you know, either electrically or chemically sent these signals. So that's the base level. And when the communication is working via good, that's what health looks like in our body. And when the communication gets either disrupted or staticky or distorted or warped, that's what sickness and disease is. Along the nervous system, there are receptors. Now this should give everybody pause. Everybody's nervous system has receptors to receive a particular kind of compound called a cannabinoid. That means that the body is designed and expecting to receive this compound, and I consider them like keyholes. So what are the keys? The keys are the cannabinoids, and we get them from one of two places in the world. One is within our own brain. Our brain will generate that compound, and there are, you know, factors that could decrease the creation of those compounds, such as stress. So that's why it's very likely that much of the population has a deficiency in the cannabinoids because of the typical stress-driven life. And so in that event, the second source for the compound is in phytocannabinoids, which are from plants. And there are other plants other than cannabis that provide it. I'm most familiar with cannabis, and I go for the namesake. The compound is named after the plant. I'm gonna go straight for the plant. So so that's why it makes sense then that when those keys are working, going along the system and unlocking things, and sending signals that need to be sent. That's why, like, when, say, medical cannabis could be given to treat epileptic seizures, then they also find a cascade of side benefits, not side effects, which is what typically happens with pharma. You try to get some treatment and you get 11 new problems. With cannabis, you try to solve one treatment and you get added benefits. Like, wait a minute, what? My bones mend faster? Like all these other kinds of, unexpected sense of well-being, all this. So it's, there's plenty of proven, proven little puppies for TLC. But it's established that it is an essential nutrient. And so I just want to draw the connect. I want to say, please pay attention to the fact that we have a federal policy that
we
names,
don't.
Oh, that's right. So it's been established that the presence of these cannabinoids are necessary for homeostasis. It's necessary for well-being, and the absence of them creates sickness and disease. So that's one example of, like, it's very inferior, it's very inefficient to have our body need and make a compound that's also considered a Schedule I substance. Like, that's just one example of the idiocy.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, when I was looking into some of this stuff, or just looking around at stuff on the internet a year or two ago, I remember seeing that we have cannabinoid receptors. Cannabinoid receptors in our brain.
Yep.
And I was like, wait a sec, why would we have that in our brain unless we're supposed to be ingesting this substance for some reason, right? And I think, I go into every conspiracy theory possible, and believe me, most of them are true. This is a very crazy matrix we live in. And yeah, they want to do everything possible to make us as sick, as confused, as lost, as damaged as possible. And this is just another one of them, making it so it's illegal to even get something that we actually need for our health.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I want to show exactly, like, how profitable it is, because if, the medical system is based on patents and pathology. That's what it's based on. The Hippocratic Oath is decoration. I do no harm. Yeah, that's pretty much most of what you do, except for, like, maybe emergency medicine. But the truth, like, the pharmaceutical industry, they spend more on advertising than research. So I know where your priorities are. All right, all these commercials and with the background music and stuff, but how many deaths have you taken? Hundreds of thousands every year. And how many lives has cannabis ended? Zero, nada, not one. Okay, so the evidence is right there. The problem, the resistance that people have is just 70 years of steadily dripped disinformation. And that's why I'm wanting to be as clear and vocal as I can, to give the dignity and the clarity that's needed for this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Look at the drugs that are pushed in our cult. They call it culture. It's just a cult. The top one in our cult is alcohol. It's everywhere. You can't go anywhere without seeing alcohol. What is one of the worst drugs in the world? Alcohol, by far. And if you actually look into the meaning of the word alcohol, I'm no expert on etymology, but it comes from the Arabic al-Kul or something, which I believe means demon spirit or something like that. If you talk about alcohol, a lot of people call them spirits. And what I've started to realize is the more you drink, the more your soul gets sucked out of you. And when you get actually blackout drunk, which I've done many times in my life, people will tell me what I did the next day, and I can't believe it. I'm like, that's not me. What happens is your soul, your body's so polluted. Alcohol is it's like paint thinner. It's a poison, and you're ingesting this, and your body gets so polluted that your soul can't take it anymore. It can't stay in the body, so it leaves. And when it leaves your body, some other entity can come in, and that happens all the time apparently. So people explain to me, like, what I did after I got really drunk last night. I'm like, I would never do that. Like, I don't know what happened. And I'm not saying I killed anyone, but it's just really stupid, crazy stuff that I would never do. And, you know, fighting with people and stuff.
Yes.
And so that's what the cult pushes as our main drug. So most people out there today are working just to pay for their death contract, their mortgage. And this is all, forget about the fact that most boys in the U.S. today, when they're born, within days, their genitals are mutilated, massive trauma that they'll probably never actually get over their entire life. They'll never have full sexual connection ever again after that. A few days later, a few weeks later, they got dozens of vaccines being pumped into them full of mercury. This is all part of a plan. People need to realize this. This is a depopulation agenda. Just listen to Bill Gates' TED Talk. He talks about how they're going to use vaccines to reduce the world population. And everyone clapped. These people, this is sick people. They hate humanity. They're very, for whatever reason, they're not like us. They don't love all the beautiful stuff. They hate it all. They want to see it all destroyed. They want to just destroy everything for whatever reason. Whether it's, we could go into whatever reason. But getting back to things, yeah, then they get the kid. He's all, you know, butchered. He's his immune system's going to be destroyed already. He can't really even think properly with all the mercury and all that. Then send him to 12 years of government indoctrination camps where he's going to get beat up, have to memorize information, wait for a bell, get up, go to the next place. If he wants to go to the washroom, he has to put his hand up, told he's worthless, told he can never be anything. If you want to be anything, well, you can be a doctor and kill other people. This is an evil, evil, evil place. I don't know what is going on here. But at the same time, it also can be quite beautiful if you get outside of the matrix. But to get back on to point, my main point is they push all the really bad stuff. So alcohol is like the worst. It's the worst of all the things. That maybe bath salts are worse. I don't know. I haven't done bath salts. I can't say. And never listen to what they say on the news because that's fake media. That's propaganda. But bath salts might be pretty bad. I don't know. But they push that stuff. And what do they always, you know, marijuana has now been illegal. And what happened with the political system, and us anarchists talk about this all the time. Oh, if Trump says when he gets in, he'll decriminalize. Or in Canada, Justin Trudeau said if he's the prime murderer, he'll decriminalize marijuana. He actually had the top, you probably know this because you're into cannabis and all that kind of stuff. He had the top sort of cannabis guy in the world. I forget his name, Emery. Anyway, he's very well known, and he was thrown in jail in the U.S. for cannabis-related stuff. And he backed Justin Trudeau's campaign, and we were like, you should run for the Libertarian Party, which I was trying to help out with. And he's like, no, because Justin Trudeau's going to decriminalize marijuana. He's got the best chance to win. So Justin Trudeau wins, threw that guy in jail immediately, and has not decriminalized marijuana. This is not going to happen easily. And the other reason is because when people actually ingest marijuana, smoke marijuana, or eat it, or whatever, they start thinking, why am I paying half the money I make every year to these fat bureau rats who do nothing at all? And if I don't pay them, they kidnap me and put me into a rape camp.
That's right.
But that's why they like the alcohol, because when you drink that, you kind of just go, oh, you get dumbed down.
Yes. One is to sedate, and one is to waken.
Right.
And so, like when you were describing, like the, you know, kind of like the typical act on drinking, then it's an extreme example, but it's still a very good and findable example is of Kathy O'Brien. Talks about like one of the examples that she had in terms like the opposite with cannabis, and that now she was one of the few and only to survive MK Ultra, which was that CIA mind control program. And this is such a compelling fact. So in that program, the government condoned and provided limitless supply of whatever drug of the operatives' wish. And usually things like cocaine and heroin were the top. There was one forbidden substance, and it was cannabis. And why? Because I think that was the one she wanted. And she was like, well, why can't I? And she was told, because it interferes with the programming. And so it's like, now that's something that I was already just anecdotally starting to notice. I was like, that the things that used to bind me, I'm like, you know, they're like toothpicks now. I'm like, what is going on in me? And I'm not going to say that it's entirely that, but it would certainly make sense that if anyone is thinking with, you know, a brain that is more cellularly healthy, well then obviously like the thoughts and ideas are going to reflect that as well, and then vice versa. So I just, you know, it's very telling. I mean, like the government, you know, what it says and what it wants to enforce and what it knows are very different, you know. So it's like the bottom line is that, I mean, like this little weed It's this little weed. It has the potential to be the thing that would subvert all that this little, that this facade is standing on. And so it's like, and it grows wildly. It grows easily. I am hardy and robust.
Well, that's
I don't
another
even
thing.
need hothouse conditions.
Well, that's another thing. Yeah, you can grow it yourself, and it costs nothing. And it's also very medicinal.
Yeah.
Right. So it can cure cancer. It cures all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
You can just grow right here if it was legal. I don't personally care. We'll shoot any government people who come around here. But in the U.S. that is actually the case, and people are thrown into cages just for growing. But it's basically free. And talking about my diet stuff, basically all you need to be completely healthy is to eat fruit and vegetables. That's it. Those you can just grow yourself. They don't want anyone to know this stuff,
right,
because they'd rather you're buying McDonald's every day. You're buying your 12-pack of Budweiser because you can't grow Big Macs in your yard, and making alcohol is not even that easy. But I think that's even illegal, right? They call it moonshine in the U.S., right? They don't want you to be able to do anything on your own. They want you to have to, pay into the system and give you all the worst stuff.
Yeah. So, why is it that the way that's legal and most accessible and easiest to get is also the worst for us? And then say things like catching water, catching sunlight.
Catching water is now illegal in many states in the U.S.
Yes.
Also living off the grid. So if you have like some solar panels, which they're actually trying to push, but it has to be through them. It has to be through their fascist system and paying off people. But basically everything's almost free that we really need. Cannabis, fruit, vegetables, can grow it all. And as you said, catch rainwater and stuff like that, but that's illegal. And like I said, people are paying into their mortgage, their death contract for 40 years to pay for their house. Then they have a car. Why do you need the car? Well, to go to my job. Why do you need your job? Well, to pay for my car and my death contract, and of course all my, all the other expenses, because everything's so expensive. Because I can't grow my own stuff. I can't grow my own medicine. I'm not even aware that's what a good diet even is. So it's just so screwed up.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why cannabis got a bad rap for like creating people that are lethargic or that are like the sort of like just blitzed out stoner on the couch locked and this kind of thing. And that's actually, I think that often what happens is that the person that they see what the heck is up. And it's either, like there can be sometimes like depression of like, holy crap, like this truth is disillusioning. You got to be tough cookies to process it. And then that could be one of it. And then the other thing could just be like, I don't care. So like what you are detecting as social apathy is actually me being very conscious, me being very choiceful. Is that a word? Mindful of where I feed my participation and my energy. And so I withdraw it from the old inferior ways and I'm redirecting it to the superior ways. And so then those who knew us back in the sleeping days may not know what to make of that. And then they say, weed changes people. Yeah, it changes people, but a lot of times it's because the agenda gets cleaner and more simple. And to a consumptive, perspective, it looks crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do see a lot of people, they smoke weed, and it's like, why don't you get a job? They're like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, why would I going to get a job to pay my death contract and, and sit in traffic for 2 hours a day, and they smoke weed? And that is sort of demonized in our cults because they don't want people to be like that. Because if everyone's like that, they wouldn't be running around constantly buying all this stuff and paying all this taxes and all this sort of stuff. And they'd just be sitting there and chilled out. They wouldn't be that into war. They'd turn on the TV and they'd be like, we're going to attack Syria. And people would be like, what the hell are they talking about?
That's right. Like, I see my brother and my sister. What do you mean? I mean, so like that old messaging, us versus them, and this, like, it doesn't work anymore. And it sounds like the absurd nonsense that it is. And so it essentially, you become ungovernable. And, like Bob Marley says, it's a revelatory herb. Like, I would love to start hearing the true terms described of it. Even marijuana. Can I say something about that for a hot second? We've even mutilated the name. Marijuana is, that was an attempt and a very successful attempt to be real subtle, so that you would always associate it in a negative way with the Mexicans. That and it was derived from the two most common names, Mary and Jane, or Mary and John, Mary Juan. So that's how they could. So then they just merged it together, said marijuana, and the purpose of it was so that when it came up to be entered into the Schedule I classification, that no one would know what it was, because at that point, American Medical Association loved cannabis. everybody loved it. It was in the pharmacopoeia. Everyone used it. It was in everybody's medicine cabinet. And so then when Anslinger said, "Oh, let's start the original war," he knew he couldn't do it by calling it by its proper name. If he had said, "Oh, I'm gonna name cannabis as a Schedule 1," AMA would have shut him down so fast. And they're on the books. Please look this up. They are on the books to say, we object to this. Had we known that that's what marijuana was, there's no way we would have laid down for this. You see? So it's the misnaming of it. So that's why I won't use the word marijuana, except if I'm referencing like a legal document. But that's not its name. It's a Kunta Toby kind of thing. It's like, that's its slave name. Call me Toby. My name is Kunta. No. So, it's not marijuana. That is the bastardized, whatever, slip-slop name on there. Part of that propaganda that's, that associates it with, with brown melanated people. Very true. You can look at the posters and it'll even say, Anslinger is quoted as even saying, "Oh, the devil's weed, it makes darkies think they're good as white men. It makes white women want to sleep with the black men." I mean, there is so much to it. And it's like, just Google images. Don't trust me, look for yourself and you'll see that. But yeah, so just that even the misnomer of it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I didn't realize that was how the name came about and how easy it was to fool so many people. It's just pre-internet, of course, when they're doing it. Many of the founding fathers, which I hate using that word, it's such a cult. They are not your founding fathers. But anyway, for anyone who thinks that, they were all marijuana farmers, many of them. George Washington was.
That's right.
And on the back of the $10 bill in the 20th century, so recently, was a marijuana farmer. And it was around like the 1920s or 30s or 40s when they started to make it evil, right?
Yeah. With,
sort
like
of like
in
around Prohibition.
They did a tax.
And all that.
Yeah, like in 1937 they rolled out this tax act on marijuana, and then Anslinger, became the head of what would become the DEA. It had a different name at that time though, and he secured himself good. I want to point out the positioning of certain industrial families that benefited from this. Okay, so let's look about inferior and superior again. So start with oil and plastic. The DuPont family, they just rolled out all these new discoveries, patented ways of making plastic and all kinds of nylon and rayon and all this stuff, Teflon, and so they did not need a good, clean, natural oil around to get in the way. So, pardon me. So DuPont benefited from the suppression
because they could have
hemp.
used cannabis to create all those things but they had already patented. This is this is how it always happens.
That's right, but hold on, because I'm saying it's the compounded effect. It's like that's just one. There's another one, the Hearst family, in terms of timber. So then when you've got paper made from trees that take 20 years to grow, that Hearst family, have you ever seen their estate in the, oh my God, I've never seen a place, it's as big as a mountain. I mean, and I see exactly where it came from, all the trees that had to be laid in order to provide for that inferior form of paper making. Hemp can do it in 3 months. Hemp can be grown and ready to made into pulp for 3 months. So what are you doing, Kimberly Clark? What are you doing, paper makers?
So if hemp was decriminalized, it would totally destroy the forest industry, the deforestation industry, which is what so many environmentalists talk about constantly, right? Like we're deforesting the whole world, and yeah, we are. Just
so
legalize or decriminalize cannabis, and it's over. Like this is all the solutions are so easy.
Yes.
But we just got to get them done.
And that's what I'm saying. So that's the part in me that just, like, at the end of it, I was like, it's really that I am just such a nut for efficiency. I really couldn't take it. I'm like, oh my God, you're so stupid about it. Like, you're coercive and you're a bully, but you're not even smart with the way that you want to do it. Well,
they want to destroy the earth as well. These people are very, very evil. That's what all the chemtrails and all that stuff's all about. They're doing everything possible, and people don't realize this. This isn't people like Donald Trump or Barack Obama or any of those people. They read off teleprompters. They're told what to do. Even Vladimir Putin came out last week and said, Trump doesn't decide anything. He's told what to do. Obviously, this is obvious. This is just basic 101 of human life. This is obvious. And these people are very, very evil, and they want to destroy and depopulate the world and destroy everything. I don't even know that now you can get into really crazy conspiracy theories about maybe they're not even human. This is where you get into David Icke lizard people. This is where you get into the more religious type people, demons and Satan and all this sort of stuff. This definitely is something bigger than what any of us know. But yeah, these people are really sick and they're trying to destroy us. But we can actually change that. And we are slowly changing. You know, the first person who actually helped make marijuana decriminalized in Colorado was Joby Weeks, a past Anarchast guest who actually has a place now here in Acapulco. And that has spread like wildfire across the world, but it's still not getting pushed through completely. So what you told me recently was that there's a way that we can actually get this pushed through right now.
Yes.
But most people don't know about it. I'd never even heard about it.
Yes, yes. And I just want to say like how simple it is to at least to like make our united voice known in this way. So first thing is just to Google HR 1227, and then that's going to bring up the bill as it is, which is federal prohibition, or it's to repeal the federal prohibition of marijuana of 2017. So that's the name of the bill, and it's bipartisan by all means. It's brought by a Republican person, but who cares? And so the super simple way that you can make your support of that known is, I did it just through my smartphone. So you can go to your app store, download, the app is called Countable, and it's free. And then once you get the app on the phone, search within that app for the HR 1227, and it is as easy as, and then your zip code, and then you're going to be synced up with your representatives, and you let it be known that you are voting for this bill, and then do the follow-up work, which is to follow up with the representatives. How are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, start pushing from behind, and this is where it starts to matter. And so, and I'm just wanting to point out, like there are people who have glaucoma, irritable bowel syndrome, epilepsy, cancer, Alzheimer's. They are suffering physically. People who have depression and post-traumatic stress, PTSD, and all kinds of forms of, just suffering in body and mind, and they needn't be. Obesity, diabetes, seizures. Why are we putting up with this? And it's like, I'm wanting to send a battering ram to this like block that says, oh, I don't want to get high. I don't want, please, that is the least of the matters there. It's like, really, are you sure? Like, if we were to check, you don't have any pills in your purse, you haven't had any drinks, like, let's get past whatever moral hang up there is about the fact that it actually feels good. And why is that even a problem? Like, really, it's like that even is a sign of some sort of sickness where we're so like uncomfortable with feeling good. That is how not well we are, and but anyway, regardless of that, it's not about the weed, it's about the wellness. That's what it's about. And so I wanted to, just show like how encompassing that is. So everybody is affected. Everybody. Do you like soil? Do you like your strawberries to have flavor in them? This regenerates soil. When there was a toxic spill, like at Chernobyl, they grew hemp to eat that stuff. This plant is here to be our companion. We co-evolved with it for nearly 10,000 years. And so there's a song and dance between its compounds and us. And there is suffering to be had when it's missing from our diet. And I do believe that it's even showing up in this fractured form of thought. Like sometimes like people who have had certain experiences with plants, it's hard to articulate, but it's like we recognize each other, and there's just like, it's almost like, say, if you've traveled abroad and you try to talk to someone who's never traveled abroad, it's like, oh, it's just so hard to explain what it's like. So it's similar to that, and so that's why, so like that's kind of like the irony of like people feeling, unmotivated or stuck or like, why should I care? Like that apathy. It's kind of like, well, just trust us on this, like just on the basis of like the wastefulness and the compounded destruction, the cost. We didn't even talk about like the prison system, which is, like the U.S. for the U.S.
The war
to
on
have,
drugs.
Yes, the U.S. to have 5% of the world's population, but they imprison 25%. And so, those numbers, that should be compelling. And then of that 25%, we lock up a quarter of our population. And so,
we don't. They do.
Yes.
We don't. I've never locked anyone up.
Exactly, nor have I. Right. But softly I have. I financed it indirectly.
Well, you were
Like
extorted.
exactly, right.
It's not your fault.
Right, but I'm wanting to show, that when we are doing what we think is our civic duty, in my case, I'm actually paying for the war on drugs. I am paying for the enforcement to stay away from the medicine I need.
Bruce. Yep. Bruce is angry. He's angry about the war on drugs.
So it can't be underestimated what a difference that we could make, in a collective way. One thing I think that is sad is like there's a cynicism that's real common among us. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's almost like cannabis is like too good to be true. It's like if a woman walks in the room and she's like beautiful, smart, rich, she speaks 4 languages and plays guitar, and she's like triple jointed, you'd be like, wait a minute, she's, you know what I mean? Like there's gotta be more to it than that's kind of how cannabis is. It's kind of like, wait a minute, what? You eat toxicity for breakfast, and you make cancer cells suicidal. That's how elegant you are. Now, most cancer patients die from the treatment. I mean, the chemo or the radiation kills them.
That's all on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But with cannabis, it's like not only are you not disturbing your good cells, it's like so smart. That's how it engages with us. The level of communication that it makes it like, fluent in being well. Come on. And so, but we've become just so used to like, oh, it suffers, it sucks, I'm getting along, and just this like, really this like half-assed level of life that now it's like you're so jaded. And I'm like, I want to say, no, please revive your hope, revive your expectation that life is supposed to be so much more, and revive the fact that like, yeah, you could download this app, make this push, become a nuisance, become an informed nuisance, a smart nuisance, but be persistent on this, bang this, beat this, 12/27 until change comes. Okay, because this whole, like, I've lost patience with, the medical marijuana conversation. And can I have a card? Can I have a crumb? Can I have a leaf? Man, I want my full proxy rights, pre-administration, the way it was before the lies came out. And so it will help you remember, and then it will give you the courage and the energy to create the reality that you want, and it's like, it's about sanity and it's about simplicity. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about the apathy, I've seen that a lot. And people just get beat down by the system, especially when you're an anarchist. You see all the problems. You see a lot of them, and it seems kind of hopeless, right? Especially if you live in a place like the U.S. That's why we like living here. It doesn't have anywhere near the same sort of political sort of system. In the U.S., it just seems hopeless. Seems like they've got everyone brainwashed. It's left versus right. There's no other choice. It's just going to always be this way. And people can just kind of get apathetic to the whole thing. And then if you're not eating well, which that's going to happen. If you're feeling really crappy, what are you going to do? You're going to eat an apple, or you're going to eat like a Krispy Kreme donut. That Krispy Kreme donut in that moment, it's going to make you feel better for like 1 second. It's going to be horrible afterwards, but just for 1 second, you're going to feel okay. Then you're gonna, oh, what should I do? Well, marijuana is illegal. All these other things are illegal. I'll drink some beer, and oh yeah, I hate, this life sucks. But we got to get over that, because you actually can change the world. I've seen it so many times. Even on Anarchast, Joe B. Weeks has decriminalized. He started the whole decriminalization movement of marijuana across the world. Joe B. Weeks. He's not that smart. We all know Joe. He's not that smart. But he's persistent. He goes and he tries to get what he wants. We also had the person on, the guy who cures cancer with marijuana on Anarchast.
Oh, right, Rick Simpson.
Rick Simpson.
Yeah.
There's a guy who he realized this stuff cures cancer, and he's like, I don't care what the laws are. I don't care.
That's right.
I don't care what you criminals want to do to me. I don't care.
That's right.
I'm going to do it.
I want to point out, slavery was legal. The Holocaust was legal. So again, there's that mindset of like, well, this is legal, this is illegal. Pharmaceutical is legal, and it is knocking out 100,000 plus people every year, creating suicides and whatnot. But it's legal, But it's like, just so sometimes, like, moral decisions sometimes go beyond and above codes of conduct or like law, especially when we can see that the lawmakers are so disconnected from themselves. Like my expectation that policy should not go against our physiology. That's just stupid. How are you going to have a law that says it's illicit? That's like saying it's illegal to like pee 4 times an hour. Like what? Like if that's a need that the body has, how are you like? So just don't do that kind of stupidity. Like we don't. But that's how fragmented everything is. It's already been shown, that the body makes it, and you still let it be on the books. So and there's all these reasons, like by its own definition, that it's highly addictive and that it has no medical value. And it's like that has been proven for decades, but it still remains on the books. So we can't get too tired or too weary or too whatever it is, especially when it's literally like 5 minutes. It's free, click, you made your voice known.
Yeah, and you
stay on them.
You can definitely make change in the world. I've done it numerous times myself, but you just got to go and do it. So a lot of people are watching this video. We get less than 10% of the people who watch it hit thumbs up. like on the YouTube down below. Like that's like the most basic. Like if you actually think this is good information, at least hit like, because even that will get it so more people will see the video because it'll go up higher in the algorithms.
And share.
And share, of course.
Yeah.
That's just the basics. As we pointed out, people like Joby have changed things. Rick Simpson has changed things. So many people on Anarchast have changed things. Gandhi, like we could talk about him. He wasn't a perfect person at all. He was a statist, but so definitely not perfect. But he pretty much got the British Empire to back off. One guy. We can all do this. It's all easy. And even you were excited about this topic, and you said you were talking to people and no one really got it. And you talked to me and I was like, I totally get it. And you're like, we got to tell people about this. So you're trying to make a change. So now you people out there are watching this. Now you can take this information, you can like and share it, and do what she said. Get this app. We'll put the links to the app down below if you happen to unfortunately live in the USSA. And call they're not representatives, call the criminals. That's fine because I'm talking. Call the criminals who say they represent you. They definitely don't represent you, but call those criminals. Get on them. When they get out of their car in the morning, be there. And just go, what the hell, man? What are you doing here? And that's how you make change. And it's actually not that hard, especially when you get into people's faces, because they're not used to that.
That's right.
They definitely are used to the phone calls, but be there when he walks into his office in the morning and just go, hey, what's going on with this HR whatever it is? And he'll be like, oh, I'm not sure. It's like, you sit down right now. I'm going to tell you, you're doing this or you're out of here. And I'm not going to physically hurt you or anything, but like I will make sure you are gone. I will make sure you never get elected again. Personally, I will make sure of this. And that will actually change them. Like most people are really weak, and especially politicians. They're like the weakest of the weak. They're just the worst people in the world. But they're full of fear. And that's why they actually become politicians, because they want to control others, because they're so scared that they can. The chihuahuas are going crazy. They're so scared that of other people. They want to control other people. So they're full of fear. So if you just get in their face, these people, they'll be crying in 2 seconds. But you can make change. That's the whole message, is you can make change. Kids are back from Montessori school. My Voxer's here now. Yeah, hit that one again. So we should wrap it up. The kids are back. The dogs are going crazy. But if there's anything that we didn't touch on, feel free.
The one thing that to be concerned about is the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. I mean, this guy is so uninformed, and like he doesn't even know. It's one thing to be ignorant, but then like to not even know your ignorance. So I mean, he's not competent. He's not equipped for the job. He knows. He sounds like he's reading literally from a memo of 1935. So, and it's like, and at that point, it is a willful insistence to remain ignorant.
Oh, absolutely.
And
it's on purpose. Like he's there for a reason.
And he just recently asked, like for more power from the Department of Justice. Please let me enforce even to a greater degree the Controlled Substances Act, because there's not enough control. So I'm just wanting everyone to be aware, like Jeff Sessions is like, the degree of his unenlightenment is like, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous to the progress that's been made. I mean, there were a bunch of medical dispensaries that were like closed up in Detroit, and it will continue. So we have to be very, very watchful of this, and because it is ultimately, it's about cognitive liberty. It is about saying you have no jurisdiction over what goes on up in here, even though they have had it, but it's to reclaim.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Sessions guy, I don't know a lot about him, but he's there for a reason. It's because the people who control things, and it's not Trump, know if they let this be decriminalized, this will ruin most of their fascist industries. It will ruin the foresting industry, which would be amazing. It would heal the earth so much. It would ruin a lot of the plastics, the oil industry. It would ruin the pharmaceutical industry. That's why.
Private prisons will take a big hit.
Right. So what happened with this last selection? Wasn't it Trump who said he was going to totally decriminalize marijuana? I'm pretty sure it was. And if not, a lot of people thought that's what he was going to do. Nope. As soon as he gets in, it's like, no, we're going to shut her down. It's like, that's because this is sort of like one of their sort of things. If they let this one go, it will ruin most of the stuff they're doing. And we'll have freedom, we'll have happiness, we'll have prosperity and peace on earth again. Yeah. It'll eventually lead to the destruction of the central bank, which actually Bitcoin's already doing a good job of that, and that will lead to the end of all war. So this all can change everything, and it's all actually in your hands. This is the thing that people just don't get. They think, oh, I'm just one person. You know what? You can change it. You can change it. I can change it. We can all change it. I'm doing my part. You're doing your part. Do your part out there. Whoever's watching this, share this video. Share it with anyone who's sick, anyone who's got cancer, anyone who's got seizures, anyone. You pointed out all the things that cannabis cures. And don't tell me that, oh, they're not sure it cures it or not. Fuck off. Are you a fucking brainwashed slave, or do you actually look into things? Because that's what they want you to think. They will never let you have that knowledge. They will never let a official laboratory results show that this cures it, because that will destroy their industry.
Yes.
Like, don't be that stupid, please.
Yeah.
And just get out there and change things.
It's usually the opposite. Like, it's actually a drug of intelligence. Like, they've made it seem for so long like, oh, it makes you so stupid and it makes you forgetful and your memory goes out. But then they're finding that in aging brains that it's promoting new neural growth. So, and it also protects the brain. I mean, so Jeff Sessions was like, I can't recall this and I can't recall that. Like, he would benefit from the neural protecting qualities of cannabis that he's trying to, crusade and hunt down. So I want to challenge the taboo. I challenge the fear. I challenge the apprehension that people feel like, oh, I don't know. Like that nervousness. I just want to say, like, you've been lied to. Like, it is a benevolent, peaceful, generous, giving, healing plant. From soil, to skin and everything in between. So thank you so much, Jeff, for giving the chance to bring attention to that important bill.
Yeah, and I hope a lot of people share this one. I think it is very important. I didn't realize there was this bill. Do everything you can to push this. Share this video. That's all you got to do. Talk about this with people. It's so easy. It's actually not that hard. And the political people, the people who run the governments and central banks, they count on the fact that you're not going to do anything. They rely on the apathy, and that's why apathy's drilled into you on every single level. From the government indoctrination camps, you'll never really be anything. Oh, you can only be this or that. No, you can be whatever you want. They don't want you to know this stuff, but they rely on the apathy. As soon as the apathy stops, everything changes. These guys go away. They disappear. Governments and central banks disappear like a bad nightmare. It'll be just over in like weeks. Like, it's that fast. It can truly happen, but you got to do something. You can't sit in your basement and not do anything and go, well, I'm not sure if I share this video someone might say I'm a druggie. It's like, no, if you're a man out there, be a man. Don't worry about what anyone says about you. I can't speak for the women. I'm not a woman. I don't know what a woman should be like, but I know what a man should be like. And they should not be worried about what anyone thinks about them. And they should go with their heart and their soul and be a warrior, right? That's what a man is supposed to be. And women can be warriors too. I'm no expert on what women should be, but I know what a man should be, and should be sitting in his fucking basement going, I'm worried about sharing this video. What if I get in trouble? Oh my God, kill yourself right now. Put a gun right in your frickin' mouth right now, because you're useless. Anyway, I've gotten a little carried away. So why don't you let people know about, because you do other things. You post on Steam, and you also do your lavish listening, which we talked about last time. Just let people know a little bit about where they can find you.
Okay, sure. So right now I've moved all my efforts over to patreon.com/sativa yoga, and I folded in lavish listening as one of my rewards. So when because I am wanting to, I just create content in as many different iterations and forms and varieties as I can that will add social dignity and vindication to cannabis. And I want to do that as long as I have breath. And so for those that would like to support me in doing that, one of the rewards, like for $45 a month or more, it would be a lavish listening session. And because the world is crazy, and being heard deeply without distraction is a wonderful experience to have. So that's one of the things I'm up to. Yeah, so patreon.com/sativa yoga. But the very most important thing for people to remember is HR 1227. One of the ways I remembered it was just like December 27th, like just to remember the number 1227. And you can find it, and it should be referenced and talked about with many. I mean, because like if you love the earth, if you love nature, if you love good food, if you love creativity, if you love, laughing, healing. Yeah. I mean, like if you love any aspect of life, then this is a good time to exercise political will. And I'm saying that as an apolitical anarchist, but this time matters. This one is different.
Yeah, that's the only time that it's really okay to vote or get involved in the political system, is if they're giving you an option, which kind of sucks, but that's the world we live in today, to reduce the crimes that they're committing.
Yeah.
And that is a crime,
Yeah.
keeping cannabis out of the
It would
hands of
just change. It
sick
would
people.
just free up so much. Just delist it. It does not belong there. That they've known that since day one.
Oh, yeah, no,
At
they
the
don't.
very least, it doesn't belong there. But sometimes we ask for too little a thing. Like when we say like, oh, could you bump it down to Schedule 2 or 3? Like it really doesn't.
And
deserve,
tax it at like 40%.
Yeah, right. We don't ask for, like, we should ask for the real deal. Ask for the whole enchilada, which is
Well, don't even
treat it
ask,
like
demand.
an herb. Well, yeah, right. But I think though that because the black market is so it will be that I think sometimes people that some of the apathy may come from there because it's
No,
the
it is.
idea-
I've even heard a lot of people say,
they're like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and it's like, yeah, I get that, and I do that also, but it doesn't change the fact that everyone's life sucks more by this prohibition.
Right.
That even for you thriving in the black market, your life would be better if this prohibition did not exist.
yeah, absolutely. I've heard that of some people saying, like, true anarchists are like, well, I'm even if they decriminalize or legalize it and then tax it, I'm still not going to buy it off them. I don't want to give any money to them, and I totally understand that. But there is some value for sure of just getting rid of the whole prohibition of it across the board, which it's not going to be easy. Like I said, if they give that up, it changes a lot of stuff. And with Bitcoin already destroying central banking, they're so close to losing it all. But we just got to keep going. And I think we will get there. We will get to the point where all this stuff happens. All the wars will end. There will be very little sickness anymore because all this stuff that heals people will be allowed. There'll be very little poverty because you can grow all your own fruits, your vegetables, your cannabis for your health. You don't need your mortgage, your death contracts. Don't really need any money, and you've got perfect health because you're eating good organic fruits, and we stop them from paying for all the chemtrails and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this can all happen. It can all happen fairly soon, but we got to do something. That's the only thing. We just got to do something. So please do something. Please share this video. Please like, subscribe, share down below. And that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth, and I am joined today by my good friend Chad Jackett of Liberty Farms and Grassroots Medicinal, and we just came across this interesting article I wanted to quickly share with you today. It says, first of its kind study shows undeniable evidence cannabis can cure opiate addiction. And I think this is an important topic to discuss because I happen to know through family experience certain members of my family who have used cannabis oil to cure their opiate addictions. What do you think about this new study? Are you surprised that they're coming out now and saying medically that, it does cure opiate addiction?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I'm kind of surprised that they're actually admitting it, but no, I'm not surprised that the information is coming out because it is a very great tool to get people off of all kinds of terrible and harmful addictive drugs.
Well, Big Pharma's been terrified of it probably for maybe 100 years, maybe longer. What are some of the other applications that cannabis oil is being used for right now? I mean, opioid addiction is a massive problem in British Columbia, in all over the world. There's tons of applications that the medical community is starting to discover. What else?
Well, high concentrates of THC oil are, people are finding that they're actually killing cancer cells as well. It's creating what's called apoptosis to that in combination with also CBD is creating something that people have said they call apoptosis, which is the death of cells that are, a death of a cell, but in this case, it's the death of a malignant growing cell. So, and it doesn't damage the regular normal cells, but it actually attacks and kills malignant growing cells.
I know for one of the most difficult drugs to quit there is on the planet is tobacco, and my girlfriend actually recently quit tobacco by supplementing it with cannabis use. And some people would say, oh, you're just switching out one drug for another drug. Well, what would you say to those people who are skeptical of the fact that you can use cannabis to quit something like tobacco?
I don't know why they would have something negative to say about that. I mean, you know, tobacco kills a lot of people, and not just the tobacco, but the chemicals that are in tobacco, and the addictive nature to all those chemicals that have been added to the tobacco these days. You know, tobacco on its own is not nearly as damaging or harmful as the stuff that people are using these days, which is, you know, I honestly think a lot of the chemicals is what people are getting addicted to, not even just the nicotine in the tobacco. So, you know, that being said, there's not all these terrible chemicals that you're going to find in you know, in cannabis. You're going to find some chemicals that are in there that are not good, but the thing with cannabis is it's got a lot of THC, and THC actually fights off cancer. So you have a counteractive property to smoking or using cannabis, to actually, you know, fighting off these cancers and these different, you know, things that are, you know, causing cancer. So I don't see that there's a problem with it. I mean, it's I don't know. People can say you're handing one thing for another, but if you're able to grow, you know, your plants in your backyard, they're not giving you cancer like the tobacco is giving you, and you're able to ease that craving for tobacco, get off of it, and not be also, you know, susceptible to some sort of government monopoly or some sort of other monopoly where you have to keep going back to get your addictive materials, the you know, the cigarettes from, then I think you're in a much better place, you know. So
It seems like the next phase for the government in this regard might be to look into genetically modifying the plant and maybe even re-engineering the genetics altogether to remove the medicinal benefits altogether. It is inevitable. It is going to happen here, but the government's just trying to get their ducks in a line right now, it would seem, to make sure that they can, you know, cash in on this movement, right?
absolutely, you know, they're just trying to form a monopoly. They're trying to squeeze out all the little guys, everybody that built the industry. You know, they're trying to criminalize us and call us terrible people. And that's why we need to get together and really have one another's backs right now. It's not an easy time for the whole, you know, for humanity that is trying to actually aspire to have cannabis freely used and you know, accessible where it wasn't before. I hate to call it the cannabis community and all that. I really don't. It's all very cult-like and weird. It's just like it's humanity, people. You know, if we want to be able to use these plants whenever we want to and like God created them, then we need to stand up for that and say, well, nobody gets to tell me I can or can't use these plants. And especially if I'm not hurting anybody with them. I mean, if I make a spear out of something and I start stabbing somebody, that's a different thing. I shouldn't be able to do that, you know, but if I'm using a plant harmlessly, I'm not hurting anybody with it. I'm trying to make myself feel better. I'm trying to heal other people's ailments with it. Then what am I doing that's wrong? You know, there's nothing, there's no crime there. There's nothing, no harm, no foul, right? So
It's never ever killed a single person in the history of cannabis use and you know, mankind using cannabis. And there's studies coming out all the time, such as this one, proving that it does things like curing opioid addiction. And like Chad said, we need to look more locally. We need to do this from a more of a grassroots approach, and that's why I love what you guys are doing.
That's what they're afraid of. That's what they're really afraid of. They don't want us to, like, they want us to be afraid of our neighbors, to, you know, all be divided, and, you know, oh, you're in this group and I'm in that group. And, you know, like, listen, like, I get it. We all have different ideologies and stuff too. We really do. And that is a big problem in the world right now. I find that, you know, people have to start having being loved to be the thing that guides them first, and not every other weird thing that is guiding them, you know. You know, so Jesus said best, love thy neighbor, you know, and he said to care about one another the way he cared about us when he was here. And, you know, I don't see that many people really, you know, throwing their stuff aside and really trying to do that. And that doesn't mean that the government needs to step in and then try to steal money to help people either. That's not what it is. You know, Jesus was not a socialist either. You know, when the tax collectors came at him to try to get money, he sent him on a wild goose chase to go and find it, basically in a shell somewhere. He made the tax collector go and figure out what a hard day's work is all about. He made him go and work for that. And that's, you know, so you know, we all gotta figure this out. We gotta use these and not swinging them at each other, and and let's figure some of this shit out.
One way to do that.
Sorry about my language.
That's okay. You're passionate about it, and rightly so. One way I know that we can do that is to organize on the community level, and this is something that you guys do at Grassroots Medicinal and Liberty Farms very, very well. You have something big coming up this weekend. It's the 420 golf tournament. Tell folks about that. It's such a great opportunity to get involved in the community here, and take it out of the hands of the government, put it into the hands of the people who are actually building this community. Tell them about the tournament coming up this weekend.
Well, it's really an amazing event. It's the second annual event for the 420 Golf and Cannabis Cup. We are a bunch of cannabis users and medicinal users that get out there to show people that we're not a bunch of evil, terrible people. We're just using cannabis, and we're using it to make ourselves feel better. And we're not even as crazy as the drunks that get out there and chew up the golf course either. So it's a beautiful event, though. I really recommend everybody come out there, and I'm really happy that it's actually we've been able to do this and bring this to the area of Squamish and really just break this open in this community a little bit more, because there's a lot of great cannabis people and cannabis friendly people in this area. It's just that nobody's really talking about it. Nobody's really been trying to unite people to say, hey, don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to be somebody that uses an herb instead of some pill that's got a patent on it. Like, come on, people. Like,
yeah, we need to continue to break down that stigma, that get rid of that fear that is trickling left over from the reefer madness era.
Hemp has been illegal since 1937. Today's supporters are heavily influenced by the work of Jack Herer. In 1985, Herer published a book which, according to his followers, exposes the real reason why weed is illegal. Before hemp was prohibited, it was grown commercially in the United States for books, oils, medicines, paints, and hundreds of other products. And according to Herer's book, in the mid-1930s a new hemp fiber machine came onto the market, which made hemp paper more affordable and efficient to produce. Newspaper mogul William Randolph Hearst had big investments in the timber industry and paper manufacturing at the time, and worried that faster and cheaper hemp production would threaten his timber industry, causing him to lose millions. Meanwhile, the chemical company DuPont had just launched a new process of paper manufacturing from wood pulp. But hemp paper was low cost and high quality. Both fearing bankruptcy, DuPont and Hearst teamed up to stop the hemp revolution. Using his media prowess, Hearst slandered marijuana in his papers with sensationalized horror stories about the drug. Scaremongering films like Reefer Madness and The Devil's Weed soon followed. According to Herer, DuPont had links to the US government thanks to their chief financial banker Andrew Mellon, who was also Secretary of the US Treasury. Then, in April 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was passed, which just so happened to be written by Andrew Mellon's nephew. This new bill made the possession of the cannabis sativa plant illegal under federal law by imposing an excise tax on every sale. Meanwhile, the American Medical Association didn't even realize until after the law had been passed that hemp, that useful and versatile product, was the same plant as marijuana. If Jack Herer's claims are true, then that means the real reason marijuana is illegal today is because of brutal capitalist self-interest.